let's just go through from the beginning, so take me back kind of, why did you become a PT in the first place? What was it about physical therapy that made you passionate enough to say, you know what, I'm going to invest 7 years of my life and I'm going to learn everything I can and I'm going to become a physical therapist?
I think physical therapy it ends up being a nice blend of working with people, working in health and fitness. Into basketball and football, so as a sports guy growing up, and so I was always drawn towards that, and it was a natural marriage with kind of the sciences I was studying in school anyway, and just being able to work with people, help people, be a part of the community, and so it ended up being something I liked. I did just a little uh, summer job as a PTA, and I saw the people that were so happy
Yeah.
working with therapists, and I enjoyed it myself. Like, it didn't feel like work, and especially at that age, where you don't know what you're doing or what you want. It's rare to find a job that you really liked as an aide. So that pushed me to go study movement science at the University of Michigan.
Okay.
I became a trainer after that. I applied for PT school while training. Fortunately, I moved up and became the manager of a gym. I became a faculty member at a personal training school, and I taught at my graduate school as well. So I was kind of learning all aspects of the job: the teaching, the learning, the application of these things, working one-on-one with people, and that's kind of how I ended up where I am right now.
So where were you originally born and raised?
In Queens, in New York. So
Okay.
yeah, except for the 4 years I was in undergrad, I've been here my whole life.
And tell me again where you went to undergrad?
University of Michigan.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then where did you get your doctorate degree?
I did it at Mercy College. It's a full-time weekend program. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I took classes, and Monday through Friday, I managed a gym and or taught at a personal training school and
And
ran
so,
my own personal training business.
okay. And so you were a personal trainer before you became a physical therapist.
Absolutely, yeah, yeah.
I think that creates such a great background in history for you. I too was a strength coach and personal trainer before I became a physical therapist. I own my own personal training studio and then opened a practice. So tell me a little bit about kind of, when did you graduate? How long have you been a licensed physical therapist?
Coming up on a year right now, so I'm still considered a fresh PT, and I graduated with my temporary license in New York while I was studying for my boards. I worked at a traditional outpatient clinic. I gave it a shot. I knew I didn't want to do it, but I tried it anyway. I saw all the pros and cons of it, and eventually it just conflicted too much with my own philosophies and beliefs. So I went on to work for an out of network one-on-one clinic for a few months, for about 6 months, and then now since the beginning of the new year, I've started my own practice.
And so let's talk about your philosophies and your beliefs, because I too worked in a hospital-based practice and I said, I just can't do this. I know what I want to do. I know how I want to treat my clients, and I can do a better job on my own. What was it that pushed you to say, I just need to be on my own. I need to create my own practice. What are some of your treatment philosophies and ideas?
So the big thing was, I got into this so I can make an impact on people's lives, and I think doing in that model, you can have some impact. And there's a lot of people who will get better in that kind of setting. However, there's tons and tons of people who fall through the cracks in that setting where just you simply need more time. Even just from an interaction, customer experience standpoint, and providing a certain environment, you need a little more time where it's not so frantic. Applying certain techniques from explaining what it's doing to how to follow through with the technique in order to make it stick. You kind of need more time to even explain it. Or just simply educating somebody on load management, or sparing the joint or the problem from extra work to allow it to recover and heal. That takes time to explain. Pain science principles takes time to explain. Hearing people's concerns and really having a lasting impact just simply takes time. And the complex cases, or people who just kind of need a little more explanation and work and coaching on certain movements or principles that really will guide them to success, I just needed an environment where I can focus on that. Because if I decided to do that where I was working previously in the traditional model, I would have to take hours and hours of notes home with me. I would have to do that while juggling multiple patients. And a lot of people got better, but the people who didn't get better would always kind of stick with me because I didn't feel like I could do what I was taught to do. So the model didn't allow me to use any of the techniques that I learned or the skills or the application of the science that I know will provide good outcomes.
And so now you operate your own clinic. It's an out-of-network clinic. Is that right?
Correct. Out of network and cash. And to be honest, it's mostly just cash.
Sure.
Out of network, fortunately in New York, there's a lot of out of network opportunities. And sometimes they pay reimbursed even more than cash. But a lot of times it has to do with just the way I'm communicating my services to people. And I just present it as cash first. And then if later down the road, if we can get if they have out of network services, benefits, then I can get them reimbursed as well. But yeah, that's the model we run now.
So to the person sitting at home who's thinking about maybe trying a physical therapist to deal with a condition they've been dealing with, what does out of network mean to them? Why would they maybe have an advantage coming to see you as an out of network provider as opposed to going to a traditional in-network provider?
I would say that the out-of-network model is a healthcare model. It's not a business model. So in the in-network model, time and money is dictated by what the health insurance company will provide, meaning your priorities don't come first as a patient. The amount of people we can fit in the door will determine what kind of care you get. Because in New York City, if you want to pay rent, you need to see 4 people an hour based on in-network insurance. So what it means for the patient, the bottom line is that you get care that's focused on you. I get to truly individualize the program because I get to hear of what your concerns are, what your problems are, what your goals are. And then we can, as a team, construct a plan. I can explain to you what goes into that, why we do certain things, and I can focus on what you need to do. And each day I can assess, update, and really help you meet what your goals are. And in the traditional model, it's simply you're kind of just kind of throwing a protocol, hoping it sticks, and if it doesn't, then you kind of just have to go look for something else. And a lot of times that I've met so many people who want to pay, who want to get better, who are willing to put in the time and effort, and they just simply don't have someone who can guide them, whether from a knowledge standpoint or just having enough time standpoint.
Yeah, I really think that that's one of those things that the general public doesn't necessarily understand the difference. And it can be a little intimidating to take a chance and see an out-of-network provider because you've been conditioned to think, well, I can only go to who my insurance will cover. When in reality, as an out-of-network provider, you potentially are treating the patient directly, whereas an in-network provider, it's the insurance company who's dictating the treatment. They're the ones paying the bills. They're the ones who's in charge. And so one of the big concerns is always, well, out-of-network is going to cost too much. But really, you as an out-of-network provider have the freedom to provide the patient with what the patient really needs. Whereas in a lot of traditional in-network models, if the physician makes an order for 3 times a week for 6 weeks, and you have a $50 copay or a high deductible plan, you're going to pay way more than you would going to an in-network provider than you would an out-of-network provider. So
Right.
The freedom I think it gives you as an out-of-network provider to treat the patient becomes the customer, I think is a huge asset to you that a lot of the in-network providers just can't provide. They can't offer.
Right. And we can break those numbers down in a way that it's a no-brainer, because if a physician provides a prescription that says 2 to 3 times a week, if you go to an in-network provider, if you have your PT is seeing 4 other patients, you're getting 15 minutes with them. So basically 15 minutes with the PT 2 or 3 times a week adds up to 30 to 45 minutes with the PT.
Right.
So now if you add those 3 copays up, it's equal to or more expensive to what you're paying me out of network anyway. You're going to get more time for it. Plus, I'm going to have the ability to follow up with you, answer your texts and emails if you need to communicate with me. I'm very happy to follow up. I'm able to really take my time with you. My evaluations go up to 2 hours because I need
Wow.
to hear everything you want. And I'm the boss, right? I don't need to pack people in because my goal isn't to, again, it's not a business model, it's a healthcare model. So the philosophy is patient-centered, right?
Sure.
The patient is the most important person in the relationship, not the doctor. So you end up spending more time in commutes. You end up spending more money in copay. You end up spending less time with the therapist, and the therapist can't follow up or really customize. Because I go home and I do my homework. Right? I see how everything responded, and then I come up with a plan. I can game plan at home. But when I'm completely burnt out from seeing 24 patients in a day, doing their notes all day at home, I have nothing left to give. So I think it's a better relationship for everybody. I'm more calm, you're more calm, everything is more therapeutic, and it just makes sense for, I think everybody. It's a win-win-win.
And so tell me a little bit about the kinds of conditions that you treat. I mean, as a physical therapist, there's a huge umbrella of things that we can treat. I understand. But what are kind of some of the main areas? What are some of the main conditions that you enjoy treating or that maybe you see most often in your clinic?
I would say that if I had a niche, I see people who have had fitness injuries. A lot of who I've been able to market to and be around, being a teacher at a personal training school, a previous manager at a personal training school, at a personal training gym, and just having that history. A lot of my old students, as well as my previous employees and my previous colleagues, they send me a lot of their clients. So their clients are trying to meet their fitness goals. They're pushing, they're working, they're doing great. And then either something happens or, an injury happens just randomly. And or during fitness, when they're pushing too hard, they get injured. So I will deal a lot with fitness injuries. So pain during squatting or back pain from deadlifting. Of course, I have the desk jockeys with shoulder neck pain. That's very common. So I deal with a lot of those things. But I would say that my approach is to treat the person, and a lot of times I'm looking beyond just the injury. I'm looking at how do I bake activity into their day-to-day life so that this is just a springboard into showing them how to improve their health and long-term. As some of my mentors have spoken about, we've got the smartest group of wellness professionals in the history of the world, but we have not put a dent in the obesity, cardiovascular disease crisis. The opioid epidemic is getting worse still, even though we've been aware about it. We haven't been able to change those things. So a big part of what I believe in is using that opportunity in physical therapy to show somebody how to adopt a wellness lifestyle, baking activities into their life, moving better, feeling better, and just springing off of that. And that way, I also refer a lot of my patients back to the trainers, and they work better, they work more efficiently, we work well as a team. And that way, we're truly patient-centered.
Yeah, so you're addressing more than just, there's always talk about find the root cause of the problem, but you guys are even going a step deeper into saying, look, if you're not sleeping well, if you're not eating well, if stress is getting in your way, the tissue's not going to heal. We need to address the entire person, like you said. And back to that traditional medical model, if a person comes in with shoulder pain, you can't just treat the shoulder because the shoulder is part of the system of everything else that's involved. So that being said, let me ask you, because I'd love to get an inside scoop on what the experience is like. And I'm going to ask you from a patient perspective. So for example, if I lived in your area yesterday, I was at the CrossFit gym, we were working on some handstand work. My right shoulder is just killing me right in the front of that shoulder. So let's say I'm that person down the street from you who's been sitting there with this shoulder pain. It's like, it's not going to stop me from working out. I'm going to keep pushing through it, but I don't want it to cause bigger problems down the road. So a couple of days, the shoulder's not feeling better, maybe even a week. Okay, how do I get a hold of you? And once I get a hold of you, what do I expect? Like, what's that first experience like?
So the first experience, I mean, I kind of leave everything open-ended. When they come in, I just, sometimes I don't even tell people I'm a physical therapist, but I ask them what their problem is, what their goals are, and I just start to let them talk. I let them talk about what things they can't accomplish, what's their pain or their stopping them from accomplishing, and then I let them talk about, you know, when it affects them, how it affects them, how long it's been going on for. And I basically let them lay everything out, and then along the way, I'll start to ask some key questions that, you know, let me rule out red flags and let me know about the nature of the injury. But basically, I get down to what are your fears, what are your goals, and what are your hurdles right now. And especially, I get a lot of people who failed in the traditional model, so I'll ask them what they've done before, what they liked about it, what they didn't like about it. And I always explain to them, you know, things that didn't work, I'm not going to give you the same stuff. I'm here to get you over the hump. So this way helps me kind of focus in on where, because the patient generally knows what's going to help them, what's not. They already have a good idea. And it's really about communicating on how we can work together to reach those things. Yeah.
And so during that first session, what kind of stuff could I expect in terms of, you know, we discuss it, we do the interview. Is there any manual therapy involved? Is there any, what kind of stuff do you do?
I see. So I do kind of a functional assessment. Basically, I have people move. I put people through kind of, I guess it's similar to an SFMA, selective functional movement assessment. And I get an idea of how their body moves, and then I'll take a deeper dive into, let's say if you said the handstand, right? I'll have them do something that similarly bears the loads of the demands of a handstand, either the loads or the positioning. And then I'll start to relate little deficits that I see or impairments that I see to what they're trying to accomplish. And I'll show them through an assess, kind of intervention and analysis, and then reassess and prove to the patient that something they were having difficulty with before, I can do something and show them they can improve right there and then on the spot. So the whole time I'm proving it to myself and I'm proving it to them the whole time. I'm constantly trying to show buy-in, and so whether it's with a movement and then an exercise and then retest the movement, or a movement, a manual therapy, and retesting the movement, I'll start to deconstruct their goal and show them the components, how I can improve the components, and then I'll lay out how we're going to take those parts and put it back together, all while educating on pain science and load management, because I always explain to them things like, you know, I could be the best PT, I could help you with a lot of things, but if you're picking the scab all the time outside of the clinic, not knowing me, I have to give you the strategies to allow it to heal, because all I can do is set them up with the best ability to heal, the best situation to heal. The body heals on its own, and I just educate them on how they can allow their bodies to heal while building up resilience and tissue tolerance and so on and so forth.
And so then besides the actual treatment you provide that first day, you give homework, you give recommendations on things that should be done outside of your clinic, things that I could be working on my own, because ultimately you want me to be an active participant in my rehab.
Absolutely. And something I think I do that's a little unique is with the homework, I have them do it. I show them the before and after, and then I say, give me your phone. We're going to record you doing it, and I'm going to coach you through it, because not only am I giving you the exact exercise that you need, a lot of the traditional video, the online services that allow you to send videos with instructions, I show you yourself doing it while I'm coaching you, specifically coaching the exact things that you need, the cues that you need specifically. So they always have that coaching session with them on their phone. So we know studies say you give more than 3 exercises without instructions, nobody does anything, right? So
Sure.
I give them 3 exercises. If I really believe that they're committed, I'll give them, maybe 4, and I'll make sure I'm coaching them through it. And I've gotten such great feedback about that. People love that.
And so, obviously, if there's a major condition that I'm dealing with, I'm going to come to you as a physical therapist. But what about like those people that, like I said, I was at the gym yesterday, I tweaked my shoulder. Do you ever see somebody who maybe it's not a major injury, but it's a repetitive thing that every time you try an overhead press, you're going to get some biceps tendonitis. Hey, I'm going to go see you so that you can show me what I'm doing wrong to kind of clean it up. So I don't have to go through those 2, 3, 4 days of pain and lose those training days in the process. Do you do like a one-time session or a tune-up or anything like that?
Absolutely. I try to encourage as much time away from me as possible. That's how I gauge how well I am, right? Because people are constantly coming back. I'm not doing right by them too much. But I'll be as preventative as I can. I'll assess how someone's moving. So if someone's cheating on their overhead press or whatever it is, I'll show them. I'll take my time and show them how different maybe an activation and stability in their trunk can improve their overhead motion, and I'll show them how that can improve their overall pressing ability and prevent pain. So everything I do is show it to them, assess, reassess. What's your specific issue? What's your specific need? And then let me show you that the mechanics may or may not matter, but if they do, I'm going to figure it out during that assess, reassess process, and then I'm going to show you, and that creates buy-in right away into the program. And then
I was just going to say, and then my last real question for you is, so does anybody need a physician referral to come see you? Can they come directly to you? How does that work?
So in New York State, there is what we call direct access. Direct access means you don't need to see a physician before seeing a physical therapist. However, therapists within their first 3 years will still need another therapist within their plan of care, or to just get the referral first. So in a couple of years, you won't need to do that with me personally, but for now, it's fairly easy to get a referral to see me, and it'll save you a lot of time and money in the long run. A lot of times, because if a movement is causing a problem or a pain, then the movement is what we need to look at. In other words, we need to look at function and pain in relation to the movement. In other words, if a computer is broken, you wouldn't take a picture of it to see what's wrong with it. If you have back pain while you're walking, you wouldn't take a still picture of your back. If there's a certain activity that bothers you, like pressing overhead bothers you, but raising your hand overhead without weight doesn't bother you, there's a clear load response relationship between the pain, and we need to look at that as is, instead of just kind of looking at the title of a medical diagnosis. Not all slap tears are created equal. Not all back pain is created equal. So, something a therapist does that's unique, especially one with a fitness background, is they can look at those things and they can break that down, and they won't need a physician. We have enough education to decide whether that's a true medical emergency or a red flag situation. And if it is, we always refer out, because the patient comes first, and it's not about me providing the care. It's about you getting the care you need.
Well, Ryan, that was outstanding. Like, I would love for you to tell anybody watching this, what's the best way to get a hold of you, where you're located, the name of your practice, and then any of the social media stuff that you have available. Because I know a lot of people want to get to know you before they come to see you. And so what would be a great place to start, whether it be Facebook or Instagram, or just tell me right now what the person should do?
So the best way to get in touch with me is just email Ryan at myseql.com. I work out of, I'm actually all over the place. I do home visits, and I work out of multiple gyms and facilities throughout the city. My home base is over here at Sky Health on 28th Street and 5th Avenue. So
it's possible that you could go see somebody at their own place.
Absolutely. A lot of times that's what's the beauty of Manhattan, is you can get around very easily. Most corporate offices have facilities. If not, I have access to facilities all over the city where I can sublease space and I can bring you in and I can treat you using their gym equipment. Yeah, I try to see most people over here at Sky Health. It's designed for trainers and physical therapists to run their practices out of and their training businesses out of.
And I'll get the address for that, and I'll put it in the show notes. But what about any social media, like Facebook or Instagram?
Yeah, Instagram is at DOCTACHOW, Dr. Chow.
Okay.
A lot of informational videos and a lot of principles and little things that may help you along the way. If those don't get you there, I'm happy to take you a step further and show you more. A lot of fitness stuff, a lot of wellness, big picture stuff, and then, of course, your nitty-gritty, how to prevent injury, how to some corrective exercises, and things like that.
All right. Well, Ryan, I tell you, you could really see the passion come through. You can tell that you love what you do. You're passionate about it. And like you said, the patient comes first. Thank you so much for doing this interview. I think it's important for the community to see who's available and know where they can go when they have problems. Ryan, I'm going to end it here, but thanks again for being on the show.
Absolutely. Thank you for taking the time to, bring awareness to our services and our ability to help the community, because that's what it's all about. So we as a physical therapy profession, we appreciate what you're doing, and the clients and the patients everywhere, I'm sure, are very thankful that you're letting it known that they have options if they need them.